Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Back to Bagpiping. This episode will be what I had to do to actually get back into bagpiping. So before I get started, I have some questions that came in and some comments and some suggestions. So I will go through those. For those of you who are new to the series, I am returning to bagpiping after 22 years, being retired. Never thought I'd actually get back into it. Got into it because my brother encouraged me to. And so here I am. And I have a Patreon link below if you want to subscribe. That way, somebody asked if I would post my Venmo because they didn't want to participate in Patreon, but want to be part of the fun for the David Nail DN5 pipes that I'm trying to save for so that I can use those for competition next year. So I'll do that in the space below. Somebody asked me if I plan how long this podcast series is going to be, and if I plan to continue podcasting about bagpipes after I get these DN5s. And I actually don't expect to raise the money for the DN5s through this series, so the podcast series will be as long as I have something to talk about as concerns bagpiping, and that probably will be forever. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long it is. I don't know how long podcast series tend to be. So we'll see. So the question I had a really good question. Somebody asked me why they understood why I got away from bagpiping, but why I didn't come back sooner, and how I feel about coming back now. And so this question was from Kara. So I didn't really have time to practice. I think I went over that. I really didn't have time to devote to it, but I kind of fell out of love with bagpipes for a while. Not that I didn't love listening to bagpipes, because I listen to bagpipe music all the time. I like, marches. I like, bands like Scary Vor and Chili Pipers, the standards. So I've listened to pipe music this whole time, but my relationship with bagpiping kind of dwindled. And it's just like human relationships, right? Like you invest time in them, right? And so if you want a relationship or a person or a hobby to be part of your story, then you make time for it. And I didn't want to make time for it. I didn't need it to be part of my story, because my story at the time was raising my sons. So, I didn't need or want to invest the time into it. So that has changed, right? My boys are older now. I have more time. The love was there. I just, I didn't have that spark to make it work. But, like any other relationship or any other hobby, you have to make the time for it, and you have to want to make the time for it. And for it to be part of your story, you have to, make it part of your story. So that's where I'm at now. So it's part of my story now. I don't anticipate shelving it again and like sitting it up on a shelf and just leaving it there and collecting dust, and in my case collecting mold. So I expect that I will continue to play now for as long as I'm able to. So I hope that answers the question. So this particular episode is about what I had to do to actually get back into piping. So, quick recap: my brother restores my pipes. I joined 2 different bands. I set some goals for myself, but there was a lot in there that I didn't talk about, which was how do you get into bagpiping, or how do you get back to bagpiping? So there's a lot of stuff that you have to buy. And if you are a brand new piper, like if you're just starting out with bagpipes, don't buy everything today, right? Get yourself a practice chanter and get yourself a teacher. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. You don't need everything. Don't go out and buy bagpipes yet. Give yourself a little bit of time, because it is a difficult instrument to play, and you may not love it. It may not be part of your story. So, you don't have to spend a lot on your very first practice chanter. You can get them pretty cheaply on Amazon. I think I even saw like $12. I don't have any idea what that sounds like, but $50 is a good starter chanter. Once you're playing a long time, then you can get a fancy chanter. You can get a digital chanter. The digital chanters are new, since I've been since I had retired. And what's nice about them is that you don't have to blow. So if you're familiar with playing a practice chanter, you always have to stop to breathe so you don't die. So the flow of the song gets interrupted in a way that it doesn't when you're playing a tune on the pipes. But I don't like the sound of them, and I don't know, maybe I'm just a little old school and I do like my practice chanter, I guess. So I don't mind. So I don't think that I'll ever get a digital chanter, practice chanter. So when my brother took a look at the pipes and he told me what to buy, he said, get, Everclear, which is, he used that and, bore oil, to fix the drones and to get the mold out of the stocks and everything. And then I had to buy a bag, and I would have had to buy a bag anyway, even if they hadn't been submerged, because it had been so long. It had been, 22 years since they had been blown up. They hadn't been seasoned, and, bags do go over time. So, I asked around, I asked him what he was using, and he was using a Benetton bag. So that's what we picked for me. And I was blown away that you could unzip the thing. Like, that was crazy. Because, if you're old school and you remember the leather bags, like, you'd lose a reed in there and you'd spend a good afternoon trying to get your bass drone reed back out of one of the holes. It was like one of those weird games that they had as children. And then of course it'd be covered in like goop and stuff, the gook that you used to season your bags with. So now you just unzip it. And so I played with my brother, and he like showed me how he had put drone enhancers in, and he showed me like the inner workings of the bag, which was amazing to me because I'd never seen inside the bag of a bagpipe before. And I didn't zip it up quite correctly. So when I went to go blow them up the next time, I couldn't blow them up. And I'm thinking, I just played Amazing Grace for my brother. Why aren't these working? And then I realized that I hadn't zipped the bag completely. So that's an adjustment. And and my blowpipe was too long, because the mouthpiece on my pipes, like, I think we replaced it with a brand new one, and it was so long that I was having to reach like all the way over here to like blow. So my friend Josh like shaved it down for me, but I think it's still even a little too long, because I can play my pipes, but when I see pictures of me playing, my head is still back pretty far. So I think I need to bring it down a little bit more. I need somebody to like stand with me and measure, I guess. So there are two places that I buy bagpipe supplies, and for those of you who are new to bagpiping, you'll have to find a bagpipe supply place. The two that I use are Piper's Hut and the Pipeline, which is local to me here in Pennsylvania. The links are down below in case you want to check them out. Piper's Hut is cheaper than Pipeline, but it does take a little while for things to come in. So if you need something like an emergency, then I would go to Pipeline because it's closer and I could get something quicker if I needed it. Plus they're local and they're great. So if you have an issue, like with my blowpipe, I'll probably take my pipes up there and have them fit me, so that I have a blowpipe that isn't too long. So they're both really great. I recommend them both. So, but back in the day when I was in my high school pipe band, everything was purchased by the band director. So we didn't buy anything. The reeds came, the chanter, my pipes, like I had school pipes, that all came from the band director. So, then when I was in Lehigh Valley, the chanters all matched, so that we would have consistent sound. So those were purchased by the band, and the reeds were purchased by the pipe major. So I never had to go out and buy kind of my own supplies for things. I mean, I think we paid for stuff, but we didn't order the stuff. So this time around, I had to like think about like what kind of reeds do I want, and like do I even like I didn't have a chanter, so I had to buy a chanter, and I didn't know what was out there. I had to like think about what I used back in the day, which was a Shepherd. So I bought a Shepherd chanter because that's the one I knew. But since I had retired, Macallan's had come out, And, they're very popular, and a lot of bands use the channers, and they have like the poly pipes now, which weren't a thing. They, they were all always African blackwood, at least that I knew of. Maybe there were other kinds of pipes back then, but I didn't know them. So, they've come out with so many new things, and, easy drones were around. I think they had just come out when I had given up piping. And so I had absolutely no idea how to use them. And I struggled with them because I didn't really know what I was doing. The cane reeds, you would use the rubber bands for braces, and that's how you would configure them so that they would work and be in tune. The easy drones, I was having this problem if you've watched the previous two videos. And so I actually sat down with my pipe instructor this week for our lesson, and fortunately I could do two lessons back to back, and we just worked on my pipes. Like, we just worked on them, and unbelievable how different they are now that we've set the reeds so that they're they're correct. I played this weekend at I was volunteering in the mountains, and I play on this rock out overlooking a lake, and they were so easy to blow up. It was so easy to be steady. My breathing was steady. The drone sounded great. It was amazing. So really take your time with those easy drone reeds, and if you are near a piping outfitter like Pipeline, actually go in and have them help you with the reeds, because now that I knew what to do, because Matt walked me through how to do things to get them set correctly, it was amazing how different they played. And he has a video out there, and I'm going to talk more about Matt and what he does, but he has a video on how not to fight with your bagpipes, and I definitely recommend that, because now I'm not fighting with them. So that's really great. So I had to think about even things like buying cords, and I didn't have a bag cover for this new Benetton bag, and the bag cover that was on my leather bag was moldy and that could not be fixed. So, just buying the things that you need. But if you're brand new to piping, don't buy all that stuff. If you're returning to piping, buy the things that you need, and make sure that what you have works. So have a practice chanter, because you need to learn the notes, and you need to learn tunes, and you need to practice your grace notes. And I think one of the great advantages to returning to pipes is that I already knew how to play them, right? I know how to blow them up. I know how to strike in. I know what they're supposed to sound like. I know what the tunes are supposed to sound like. But I think one of the fallbacks for people who return to pipes is that they don't get an instructor, right? They think, well, I already know how to play the pipes. I just need to, play my pipes. But I really found it very helpful to have an instructor. So I looked all over the internet, and there are all kinds of amazing instructors out there. And now with Zoom technology and Skype and FaceTime, you can actually have a pipe teacher from Scotland if you want one. I looked around, and I found lots of great, instructors. But at first I thought, well, I'm Scottish. I'm going to do this on my own. I'm not going to pay a teacher. I can figure this out. And so I looked around, and I thought, okay, well, what do I need the most help with? I need help with tarluas. So I type in help with tarluas. I had to look it up because I couldn't remember how to spell it. And, Scottish words never actually look the way that they sound. So I find a video from Matt Willis, bagpiper, and he has, a whole video on tarluas and how to make them better. He has a PDF, he has MP3s, he explains everything. And I thought, oh, this guy's great. And so I go down this rabbit hole of all of his videos that he has, which are, different tunes that he plays, and, how to do your doublings, and, how to not fight with your bagpipes, right? So I find all these videos, I go down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, wow, how does this guy afford to do all of this for free? And so I went to his website and saw that he actually taught lessons. So I reached out, and I've been with him since March. And he's a little more expensive than other instructors, but I mean, when I look at all the other stuff that he has out there, I think it's worth it. I think he's worth it. One thing that he's taught me that I didn't learn before, just in the nature of the way that pipes are taught to pipers, I never learned the theory behind the notes, right? So I can look at sheet music, I can read it, and I can say, okay, that's a doubling, that's a tarlua, that's a D throw, that's a burl. I know what they all are, but I actually did not know how to read the actual notes. To me, it's just like they like splatter the notes onto the page, and like you know what it is, but you don't actually know what the note is. So his videos and working with him has been very helpful in understanding the music and which grace notes or embellishments pick up a note, which ones bring down a note. That has all been super helpful. So I really do, I do think lessons are valuable, even for a returning player. Now, I meet every week because I have a definite goal in mind of competing next year, so I want to get better and better. A lot of our time is spent just playing tunes together because I joined these two bands and I had to learn a whole lot of tunes in a very short amount of time. So I needed somebody to play with me the tunes that I needed to learn. And there's not really time to do that in pipe practice. You pull someone over and say, hey, play Flowers of the Forest with me 400 times so till I get it right. So we do a lot of playing of tunes together. I'll take pictures of it and send it to him. In some cases, he's revised the music for me because it was made in bagpipe player and it doesn't print out right. So we do a lot of that, and I have to say having an instructor really, really does help. So his contact information is below. He also uses Patreon, so you can support him also if you'd like. And I have the first video that I watched of his, which was about tarluas. So check his work out. He's a great guy and a great teacher. So if you're new to bagpiping, focus on getting a chanter and a teacher. If you're returning to pipes, make sure you have a chanter, make sure you get a teacher. So those two things are the same. Once you know that you're going to return to bagpipes and that you are going to play them, start thinking about the reeds that you want and the chanter that you have. And if you're going to play in a band, what kind of chanters they have. And a lot of times bands will provide a chanter to you. So I have 2 different chanters, one for each band because they tune differently. And so that made life a whole lot easier. And my first reed that I used was actually my brother's. He had given me one, and I didn't have a reed cover for it. So, and it ended up getting moldy because I had nowhere to put it. And I had left it in my bag, which I knew was wrong, but I had nowhere else to put it. So then I started taking it out, putting it in a little box. And that was worse because that would mean it would go out of tune every single time I had to put it back in. So definitely get yourself, or make yourself PVC pipe covers for your reeds, and keep your chanters in socks. And, just think about the things that you need. Keep it very simple. Right now, Piper's Hut sells reeds in packs of 3, and you can buy easy or medium. And, I recommend going for the mediums, although it might be attractive to think about getting the easy ones. A lot of times, we overblow easy reeds and then they shut off and squeal and squeak. So the medium reeds seem to be okay. And then once you kind of think about the band that you're in, what kind of reeds they're playing. And right now I'm playing shepherd reeds. I like them a lot. Maybe just because I used shepherd in the past, right? I don't know. But right now that's what I'm using. And find what makes you comfortable, but don't spend $1 million doing it because, you don't want to waste your money, right? You want to buy your things purposefully and with intent. So definitely do your research. Join forums like the Bagpipers forum on Facebook. There's quite a few of those. Lots of great tips. A lot of people who are new. A lot of people with a ton of experience. I've met quite a few really, really great, nice people who've reached out, and somebody who's really, really passionate about pibroch has reached out. Another person who is really passionate about grace notes has reached out. So it's just a really great community of people that will help you get started or get started again. And just remember that bagpipes, if you do it the correct way, which not many people do it this way, but you're supposed to play your chanter for a year before you blow up a goose, and then you do the goose, and then you add the drones. So, learning piping is a minimum of 2 years. And so it is, to do it the right way. Most people don't do it that way. And so, just be cautious of other people's bad habits, which is why it's really important to research your instructor. Make sure that your instructor has some credibility to their name. Like Matt has led competition bands, and so he, like he's piped all over the place. So he has a great resume. Just make sure that you're learning from somebody who knows his or her their stuff. So my advice: keep it simple. Make bagpipes part of your story. Love them or don't. It's okay if you don't love them. It's okay if you, after getting your chanter, and you decide, like, wow, this isn't for me. It's okay. You can still listen to bagpipe music, right? Don't be discouraged if it's not for you. But if it is for you, then be all in. Absolutely be all in. And that starts with having the right equipment and getting yourself a teacher, so that that you're on the right track and you're doing it the right way. So thank you for joining me. There's a whole lot of links in the space below, to Piper's Hut, to Pipeline, to Matt Willis, to my Patreon, to Venmo. And as always, thank you for joining me. And I will see you next time to talk about music. Have a great night or day. Be well.